I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. We have made it. Happy opening day to everyone. Thursday, March 27th, opening day of baseball is here. Welcome into the Daily Puck Drop. We do it live every day at 10 a.m. For those who watch or listen to the show later, yes, we go live every day at 10 a.m. on Twitter, on YouTube, on the Puck Sports mobile app, by the way, which you can. Again, you have choices at 10 a.m. Take advantage of it. So the Puck Sports mobile app, you can listen to this show in your car, on your phone for both Android and Apple phones. So happy opening day to everyone. It is also, we need champagne, the 1-year anniversary today of when we launched Puck Sports. So, let's pat ourselves on the back here. All right. We couldn't do it, though, without you, our loyal audience who came over from the radio, and even new audience members that we have picked up since coming over to this project. It has been fun. It's been exhilarating. It's been nervous. There's been sleepless nights. There's all of it here in the past year. But was talking this morning to my kids. Don't regret it for 1 second. But a big thanks to everyone that has tuned in here for the past year. Probably we'll wrap it up with some more thank yous at the end of the show today on Hey What the Puck, where I'll probably get a little emotional. But it's an emotional time for me. I'm an emotional person, so I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I'm just happy that we made it a year, and we just continue to go strong, and it's going to be even better here in 2025 with a lot of just new stuff that we're doing. Stuff like that we introduced this week, the Sports Pit with Matt Stretch Johnson and Sandmeyer, Steve Sandmeyer, two good buddies of mine, but two former KJR alums. I mean, they just, Sandy, here's the deal. These guys haven't been on the air in like 10 years, and they just picked up right where they left off. So all that kind of stuff, it's just been fun. It's been fun doing something new and exciting and going out on your own. And anybody that's ever gone out on their own, whatever job that you do, there's always risk to it, but there's this excitement to it. I'm so excited that I'm sick this week and still have not gotten better. And I don't know why. Just cannot get better. So here's what we got coming up on the show today. First of all, we are broadcasting from the Limback Lumber Studios. Big thanks to Limback Lumber. I'm going to thank all the sponsors. We'll do it multiple times today, but without our sponsors who came over, who took a big leap of faith, who had to fight off lawyers from a corporate media radio station to say, no, you can't go over there. And they all stood up and said, yeah, we can, and you can't tell us how to spend our money. So they all took a big leap of faith with me as well. And so I appreciate that. Limback Lumber has been with us from the get-go, to Matt, to Mark, to Paul, to everyone over there. Thank you so much. I love being a part of your company and you guys being a part of what we're doing here. And we're just so both hyper-local, and I just love going in there and seeing you guys and shooting the shit and just seeing how you guys interact not only with your coworkers but also with your clients as well. So I just couldn't be more proud that you guys are a part of this. It doesn't stop there. I mean, we've got Clean Streak, Brian Turner. Big thanks to Brian and Clean Streak, who sponsor Jim Moore when he can appear and his internet works. To John Howie, who I saw on the airplane coming up from Arizona. To John Howie Steak. To Kathy Lally, who works over there. John Howie Steak as well, who we've coordinated here for the last few years. Big time support. Flat Stick Pub, to Andy Largent. Andy, love you. Thank you so much. You never hesitated from the first second we launched this. You were all in. You were all in from the get-go. And I just can't tell you how much your support means to me. To Reggie at Chalet Bowl down there in Tacoma, who brings you a Ryan Divish every week. Just awesome. Thank you, Reggie. Thank you for all your support, your funny text. Always texting when you're golfing, and in Palm Springs and rubbing it in when it's raining and cold up here. To John, Superior Linen Service. Didn't really know John, just knew John through a couple of golfing buddies and got to know him, and it's been great. It's been great getting to know John and their support. Superior Linen Service brings you Rob Staten every week. To these two knuckleheads, Hartley and Hartley Insurance, Jamie Hartley, who is not watching this right now or listening to this because he's probably playing golf because it's kind of nice. And to Andrew Herzog at Zogs on Fox Island. These guys from the radio days, again, where people try to say, no, you can't go sponsor him when he does his own stuff. They said, oh, no, we're good. We'll continue to do it. And you, again, can't tell us how to spend our money. To those guys who bring you Mike Garofolo every week throughout the year, big thanks to Hartley and big thanks to Herzog. To the Cougar Collective, to Tim and Luke, especially to Luke over there. Luke and I have known each other for a bit, and Luke's been great. Damn near neighbors with Luke, and the Collective who brought you all the Cougar stuff that we did throughout the football season. I hope they continue to do that next year as well. To Dan Black, Zeke's Pizza, thank you to Zeke's Pizza, John Canzano. I've always had a great relationship with Zeke's. Fat Zach's Pizza, big thanks to those guys down there who brought you Chris Egan every single week there as well. And that's been great having Chris on every week, and we'll continue having Chris on. To Georgetown Brewery, sorry, so stuffed up. It sounds so bad. I listened back yesterday. How awful do I sound? God, it's terrible. If I were you, I'd turn it off. Don't turn it off, but I would. To Manny, to Roger, now I know those are the big wigs, but I want to spend a special thank you to Matt Conley, who has been running. Guys does all their kind of their sales promotions, and I think the real leader of the brewery. And I want him to hear that, and so then they can hear that as well. But to Matt, and I approached Matt a long time ago about having Georgetown Brewery be a sponsor of this throughout the football season, but throughout the year. And again, these three guys and everyone over there never hesitated for a second. They said they were all in, and this is such a huge compliment, I think. To me, this is a group that, frankly, does not spend money on any advertising at all. They never have. And the fact that they did it just makes me feel really good just about our relationship with those guys. And they just, when I thought about starting this, they were the first company I thought of, was Georgetown Brewery. How they treat people, their ethos, their mission, their statement, how they want to deliver to their consumers. It's two different things. I'm talking sports and trying to entertain, and then they're delivering beer. But how they do it and how they act and hold themselves up into the community, it's just you try to model myself after what they do. So big thanks to those guys, Tavern Beer. Last but not least, a huge shout out. You hear it every single day for Hey What the Puck, Restoration One, their North Seattle franchise, to Trent and everybody over there, the entire crew that runs Restoration One. Just another company right away, and I've known Trent forever, but who just didn't hesitate to want to support another hyper local company who does it the right way, who looks out for others, looks out for their customers, but the people that work there, and trying to do the best they can in the community. And from the get-go was just right off the bat, hey, when can we start? Like right away. And they did. And they've just been doing and have been great supporters of this. And hopefully they continue to do so there as well. And who else am I feel like I'm missing somebody. God, if I'm missing somebody, I'm sorry. I don't think I am. But if I am, I'm really sorry. Hey, for Ballard residents, by the way, if you ever were a fan of Urban Market, Take 5 Urban Market, by the way, remember had an explosion for those in Ballard? Restoration One was the company. Trent's company was the one that went in there and cleaned it all up. I just drove by it this morning. Looks good. I don't know how close it is to opening, but it's getting closer. So I'm going to give one more shout out just because he keeps texting me right now, and he feels like I want to give him a shout out to Mike at Mike's Chili Parlor. has sponsored stuff in the past, hasn't sponsored anything here yet. But a big thanks to Mike, because Mike in the last year plus has been a great sounding board for me personally. Going in there, talking to him even before that of what this decision was going to be and how I was going to go about it. But I just want to thank him because he was a great just sounding board of advice. Just let me vent when I needed to vent. So, Mike, thank you. Mariners are in first place. He wants everyone to know that everybody, that the Mariners are in first place. Let me guess. And can I thank one more? He just texted me. You want me to thank him? I am going to thank him. Because there are two other people that I want to thank real quickly. I was supposed to save this to the end. Two people that offered just great advice. And and first of all, this person who's texting me, I was going to get to it, so just relax. One was John Canzano. One is John Canzano. And because for John Canzano, he was, again, modeling everything that I'm doing just after what he did. And I mean, the countless conversations I had with John, the support, back and forth with him, what to do, what to not to do, and then just leaning on his advice was just paramount in this decision. The other person in that decision was Kevin Shockey. So big thanks to Kevin Shockey, because Kevin and I had a lot of long, comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. He was, and this is weird, I'm reaching out to him for advice when he was an intern like under me. Or not under me, but like when I was there. But he was one of the smartest, dedicated, hardest working top program directors in this country. And just to be able to get his advice on a lot of stuff throughout this whole process was invaluable. Shout out to our accountant, the Magnolia Belly. He wants a shout out. If you want to find the Magnolia Belly, go to the boxcar at 5 o'clock tonight. You'll see him up there. He'll be holding court at the boxcar. All right. That's it. I'm done. Okay, that's it. I had to get it all out of the way. All right, coming up, special opening day show that will feature all of our regular guests that we have had on throughout this year covering baseball. This episode, we caught up with all these guys earlier just to get it all in the books, just to have it taped out for you guys to all enjoy. At the end of the show, we'll have our special opening day montage. Of course, it's back. James Earl Jones makes you cry every single time. We'll wrap up with Hey, What the Puck and all that. So another round of thank yous. God, this is like Adrian Brody's fucking Academy Award. Playing off the music. No, stop the music. I'll keep going. Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times, Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio, Brad Adam, Roots Sports, and our brand new segment that we introduced a few weeks ago, The Scout, an anonymous baseball scout, 30-plus years in Major League Baseball. This is one of, if not the best day in sports for me, for a lot of people. It's opening day of Major League Baseball. We get you covered here for the next hour plus with our experts here at pucksports.com. Into our 2025 Mariners opening day show special. Here we are on the Daily Puck Drop, where today you hear from Ryan Divish, Dan Duquette, Brad Adam from Root Sports, and The Scout. And no opening day show, though. It wouldn't be complete. It's not an opening day show without Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times. Of course, joins us every single week on the Daily Puck Drop, and, of course, at pucksports.com. We'll spend the next 20 minutes kind of basically going over what we've been going over here for the last, several weeks and months. Every single week, we're breaking down the Mariners. We got obviously huge news this week that came out yesterday, the news of the Cal Raleigh extension. We'll get into that and just preview the upcoming season. All right, so Divish, let's start with the big news of this week that broke last night or yesterday afternoon, and that would be Cal Raleigh and the extension. $105 million over 6 years, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, I don't know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It didn't feel like there was any movement on it, and then all of a sudden we get the news that he's signed an extension.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty stunned. I got a heads up that it was happening, and I didn't really. I wouldn't say I was expecting it because they, in talking with Cal, he said that there wasn't really any offers, and maybe it was like serious offers. And I'm sure his agent wasn't actually going to go to Cal and say, hey, okay, here's the real offer until one was in place. But yeah, I just didn't know that they were doing that. I mean, it's also, Justin Hollander said several times this offseason that they would love to lock up guys and they were going to try to do it. But, it's one thing to say it and then actually get through to doing it. But I would guess too, like of all the group, like of all the players out of that group of guys that will be free agents here in 3 or 4 years, he might have been the most likely to sign. He really has, developed a love for the organization, the city of Seattle, Pacific Northwest, just kind of where he blossomed as a player. And yeah, so I think in that regard, it's not surprising that it's him. But just, yeah, and they do like to try and get this stuff done right before they don't want to be doing it during the season. And to get it done before the season and, kind of restructure some money and some stuff like that as well. I think that's a pretty good deal for Cal and for the Mariners. I mean, like a year ago, even 2 years ago, I would have said, no, this probably isn't going to ever happen, but they got it done. And I mean, kudos to the Mariners for recognizing what I think a lot of people wanted and what they felt was good. And then also, um, you know, big reward for Cal, who ultimately deserves it. It isn't like it isn't backbreaking. And actually there's a seventh year for there's a seventh year vesting option. So I don't know what the vest is exactly, but he would get another 20 million, I think, for the seventh year or something like that if he were able to play enough maybe in that 6 year to get that. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not 25, it's not. I think the average annual rate is 17.5. That's not even the most going to a catcher annually. So really good deal for the Mariners, a good deal for Cal. He's got, I take 100 million and never be heard from again.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we all would do that.
If you give me $1 million, I might never be heard from again.
I think if you invest $1 million, you'd be great. Yeah, when I saw the deal, I was like, this is just. It seemed to me like a great deal. Obviously, there for both sides. The overall value of $105 million ranks him third between Smith and Realmuto. The average annual and you mentioned it, 17.5, is also places him third behind JT, and then also Salvador Perez. Yeah, but you go to the $105 million again, and that's not Will Smith at 140, but also that's Will Smith, that's a 10-year deal for Will Smith. And you'll look at the years for Cal, it's 6 years. So what takes him to what? He's 34, I believe, is when the contract would roll out. So it's one of those deals where you just say it appears a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, it's not a 10-year commitment. You're not having deferred money from another 12 years or something like that. It's basically market value for a catcher. And, maybe like the numbers, whatever, yeah, the numbers are good, the homers and the defensive metrics, but it's also just kind of what he means to this organization. Something I wrote about for our paper, for a special section, just kind of like he's the conscience of, he might not be the captain, he's the conscience of the organization. Like
Sure.
he has said what needs to happen on the field. He stood by it. He's been honest to a fault. And, I think you're part of what you're paying for in that deal is that aspect as well, the leadership quotient. I mean,
Sure.
If they do want to sign Logan Gilbert to an extension, having Cal Raleigh signed to an extension makes it a little easier, I would think.
Sure. And then, but I want to go back to something that you mentioned just in the beginning. You said, hey, a few years ago, or even a few months ago, maybe, it was something this extension that you didn't think was going to be a reality. What do you think changed? Because I think we all kind of shared that. You and I have talked about this many, many times. I think a lot of us had our doubts whether or not he would re-sign with this team because of, are they serious about winning? Did he ever want to go back east? Did he want to go play for the Red Sox or be closer to home? What do you think changed, at least maybe your opinion, of where it was at maybe a year ago or 2 years ago about his future, and then obviously where he is now in signing a 6-year extension?
I think a lot of things have changed. Well, one, he didn't change agents per se.
Yeah.
His agent changed companies. The guy that his rep at Scott Boras company left and went to, I believe it's Apex. And so he stayed with his guy, went there. And I think, you know, as Cal and other players have noted, like Boris has one playbook when it comes to his players. When it comes to extensions and free agency, it's get to free agency, get to the highest. I don't necessarily think Cal really wanted to go through all that. If there was stability to get there, he would happily do that. And then I think that's a major factor. Like, you have a voice that's willing to go into these negotiations with the goal of trying to get an extension accomplished. I don't know that, like, if his guy stayed with Boris, that it would have been as amenable to the overall. So I think that's important. I think Cal just continuing to recognize his importance to this organization, his growth and kind of his growth with the organization, the relationship, like he really feels like he has ownership in it more so than ever. He lives in Arizona in the off season, so he can train at the complex. He's a big part. He's flown up to Seattle multiple times to handle like stuff within the community, which he's really good at. And I think having Dan Wilson as his manager, who he's been really, really tight with since he was drafted, I think helps. I think a lot of factors went into this. And from the Mariners standpoint too, I think, some people say, oh, it's just they got the Root streaming app and they're figuring everything out. I think getting the app through the finish line and having at least some stability with that product offers them a little bit more of a roadmap to where they, can project finances. But at the same time, I think the Mariners looked around and said, hey, look, this is, this guy's willing to do this now. We should take a look at it, see what it's going to cost and explore it. And they did. And they came up with a pretty fair solution to the problems or to the the desires of both sides. So I think it's a pretty good, I think it's a lot of little things that kind of combined. I do think that they were trending in this direction more and more. The more that Cal became attached to this owners or this organization, this team, the leadership role, in a lot of ways, it's his team, it's him and JP probably more than anyone.
Yeah.
I think that, he looked around and I'm sure he's heard from other players too about that it isn't always better leaving. You may think from the outside it looks better, but it isn't always better. And I think he realized that he liked where he was at here. And I'm sure the ownership had to give him some kind of like assurances that, hey, we're going to keep trying to win and we're going to continue that. Now they did that with Kyle Seager and Felix too, and this wasn't necessarily true, but I think Cal was looking for some stability and the Mariners were able to provide it. And I think I think he believes they can win here in the near future, and he does have a no trade clause, so he does have some leverage there.
How much do you think Dan Wilson had an influence on this at all?
I don't think it's the major part, but I think it plays a role. I think Cal and Dan see eye to eye on how the game should be played and how they want to play it. I think that makes it more enticing for Cal. Like if your immediate boss is somebody you dislike, that's not going to make you want to resign. But if your immediate boss is somebody that you really respect and you have a really good relationship with, I think that provides even greater impetus to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like, and again, the negotiations probably been happening for a while, but it obviously can't hurt that he has such an, respect and admiration for Dan Wilson, that he can see himself playing for him for the next 6 years.
And it's not to say that that's not to say that like Cal hated Scott Service or anything like that. I don't think that's the case. I think that just Dan and Cal have known each other, since the day Cal was drafted and was in the minor leagues, and Dan working with catchers specifically throughout the minor league system over these last few years. I mean, he's really developed a relationship with Cal, and I think that helped it a lot, or at least, helped give Cal another reason. Like if you did the old yellow legal pad of pros and cons, having Dan Wilson as your manager is definitely a pro, and it's pretty high up on the list.
Sure. There's nothing ties into this whole Haniger thing, right? Because you owed him money anyways.
Yeah, I know. They're not like saving money by cutting
Right.
Haniger and then extending Cal. I don't think there's, one has nothing to do with the other.
Just coincidence of the time.
Yeah, I think the thing with the Mariners is like they could have kept Mitch on the roster, sent him to the IL, let him rehab and see if he could work his way back, and then release him or whatever if they didn't think he was there or whatever. I mean, like, they could have done that. I think they just looked at it as at some point they were going to have to release him, because he wasn't, even if fully healthy, or even if, there was a way they could have put him and Tellez both on there, I guess. But like, even if fully healthy, his playing time was going to be limited to DH only. So then you're kind of looking around, and given the limitations of some of the other players and stuff, like, I think they just said, you know what, it's just better to not try and finesse this right away and just rip the Band-Aid off and make the move now. And if anything, it allows Mitch time to assess the market, look at where he might, fit in, and then, go probably sign a minor league deal and rehab his way back to playing. He was getting closer and closer to playing. So, I think in the next coming days, we'll hear of him signing with somebody else and trying to work his way back.
What does this mean for Harry Ford? Just curious about it.
I think it means, his role is going to be limited to a backup, in the near future, if he ever does get called up.
Right.
And then, like, the idea of trading him is still going to be pretty forefront. I said it last year because they did shop him. They were trying to put him in a package to get players. He didn't maybe have as good of a year last year, and there were still some questions about the hitting and the receiving. There were still some of those questions, but I think with how he played this spring and how he handled himself, his attractiveness as a prospect has gone back up a little bit. And I think, that's something that they'll package him. Now they have lost some leverage knowing that you have Cal, but the value of catching is high. Like, teams need catching. So if Harry goes to AAA and plays well at AAA as catcher and performs, there's going to be value there. I just don't think that he hits enough right now consistently to put him in a corner outfield spot or something like that and say, okay, yeah, this is how we're going to get the value. His value is probably as a trade piece and as a catching trade piece.
To wrap up the whole Cal thing here for just a quick second, away from what actually he does on the field, catching and hitting, the value of Cal Raleigh to this team and this organization is what?
It's hard to measure. It's not a dollar sign. There's not a metric. Like I said, he is the conscience, the level of responsibility that he carries for himself and he holds himself to, the standards that he holds himself to. Everybody else has to kind of follow along, because here's this guy that's playing hurt all the time and beat up and tired and, has the most difficult job, the most preparation for every game.
Right.
And he's out there playing and, he handles himself as a pro, all those things. You can't be somebody else in the organization and act differently and expect that it's going to be okay. One, because he'll say something right away, but the others recognize it too, and they hold themselves to that kind of level. The one thing you can say about the Mariners is they brought in better people than they ever have before in terms of the people they have drafted and developed. They are good people. Like, they understand the culture of working and preparing. It's, sometimes the outside people don't necessarily get it, but
sure.
Like, Cal's part of this group that really gets what they want to do. He might, he is that kind of leadership piece. And just like the value of a quality catcher that's a good person, it's a good leader, that it's just invaluable, and so many teams are looking for it. So tell your kid he should be a catcher. That's the best way to get scholarship gets the
We
big one.
just had a conversation about this the other day. And he's like, "Yeah, I could play." He's like, I could play anywhere. I like every position, but one." I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Catcher. I don't want
Yeah.
to play catcher.
It's there's a lot of it's funny like and I don't equate my college playing with any of this, but like I wish I would have caught sooner. Like it fit me more, the responsibilities of the league and stuff. It fit me better as a person. And like I said, though, there's a lot of people like your son that just don't want to do it. It's a lot of work.
Sure.
And like I said, the Mariners have found somebody that
He loves it.
Yeah, that loves it, loves to play, loves the preparation aspect, does the work, and that's the thing. And that's one thing too, is like, by giving him this extension, like he's going to be responsible to it. He holds himself accordingly. That's important.
Who is the next one? You mentioned it before. Do you feel that Logan Gilbert is the next one on the docket?
I don't know. I mean, maybe, I was thinking that like Logan is going to cost a little bit more because he's closer to free agency, but he's also going to get more expensive over the next few years because of arbitration eligibility and going up. I mean, was he getting 8 this year? So ostensibly he could make 12 next year. I mean, that's a fair amount of money there. Whereas like if you did an extension, maybe you could, pay it out fairly. I don't know. There are a lot of people who think that both he and George are going to test it. So maybe you look at somebody like Bryce, who maybe you get him to an earlier deal, make it longer, but, not as a lower AAV. Maybe you do that way or something like that.
You think he's a $200 million guy?
Logan?
At least? Yeah.
Well, I mean, Max Fried got $220 million for 7 years.
Corbin Burns got 210.
Yeah. I mean, and Max Fried is hurt a lot. I mean, he's left-handed. He's very talented, but Logan's got a durability and a quantity factor that could get him a lot of money.
Not a fair comp because he's won the Cy Young twice. But again, injury history, which Gilbert does not have.
Yeah.
Is Blake Snell getting 182 over 5?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and Blake Snell has never been over the 200 inning mark.
Right.
I don't know that he's been over the 160 inning mark. So it's like, what are you paying for? You're paying. I mean, the Dodgers again can afford to do that and then defer the money and structure it. So
can these guys afford that? I mean, he should get north of $200 million.
Yeah, I mean, like they tactically can afford it.
Sure,
but it's whether or not they're willing.
Do they want to?
Yeah. Because I just don't see him signing the Luis Castillo 5-year, $115 million contract.
No.
Maybe. I mean, like the one thing is though, is like if you got him, let's say you got him at 5 at 125, and then so you're not forcing him to stay, so he still has more earning opportunity after the 5 years. Then you're in that same range as Cal. You know what I mean? Like because you're not committing long term, but because like Felix did that one time. Like his first contract was. Like it was like a 4-year deal. And then, it's like, so maybe that's something they could do. I don't know. Pitchers get paid a lot. I mean, Nathan Eovaldi got 3 years, $75 million this year, $25 a year. So I think, Logan Gilbert is slightly better than Nathan Eovaldi in a lot of ways.
Overall, spending all the time that you have during spring training with them, overall vibe of the team, outlook of it, better spot than they were in a year ago. How do you think they stack up as we are, we're hours away from the start of opening day?
Yeah, I think this team seems to do better when there's not a lot of expectations, and so it's like they're a pretty loose group, they put in their work and the one thing is there's a lot high level of familiarity because they've all been around each other, there's not a lot of changes. So, no, I think in that regard, I think that they're pretty optimistic. You don't have that overlying thing, like the one year after they made the postseason, they had the whiteboard and, that Service wrote on, make the World Series, and championship. And like last year, even Service said like American League win the division, and players were saying that. This year, like I think because of what didn't happen this offseason and so much, like the expectations and kind of the curiosity around this team are high. Like there's not high expectations because nobody really knows what to expect. You know, like it's essentially the same team that they ran out last year. And is it going to be the team you saw for the first 5 months or the team you saw for the last 6 weeks? And like, is there regression? Is there bounce backs? Like to me, like if you look at possible regression from the starting pitching, whether it's injury, like George Kirby being out a month or whatever it's going to be, bounce back from the bullpen, bounce back from certain players, or, still continued regression from other players. Like to me, it's like they're not any worse than they were a year ago, but I don't know that they're significantly better than they were a year ago, because it's all those factors like regression plus bounce back plus all that. Does it equal out to being the same? I mean, to me, if they on paper, like you look at this team right now, it's probably an 85 win team, 82 to 85 wins.
Over under DraftKings 84.5.
Yeah. I mean, 82 to 85. I think that's what a lot of the projection systems have them at. And like you don't have to look very hard to see how they get from 82 to 85, 82 wins or 85 wins. It's just getting 145 starts from their main 5 pitchers. That usually will get you 80 or 75 to 80 alone. Like I think that's to me, why you can sit there and say, well, they shouldn't be any worse. Now, if there was multiple injuries to the rotation, you have multiple guys out, that's the factor that, but like from an offensive standpoint, I do think Julio will be better, and I do think that JP will be better than they were last year because they were career lows, but I don't necessarily know, who else is going to be good and stuff.
The biggest question, like going into the season for you, biggest question mark is what?
For me is like, how do they navigate? And like, the whole get off to a fast start, that's bullshit. I mean, like part of the fast start in the years past was because the manager twice didn't have a contract extension going into the season, so he was lame duck. So the fast start was, I get off to a fast start so I don't get turfed by the GM or by my friend, and like people sit there and talk about like, oh, well, you got to get off to a fast start this year. Unlike last year, they were 10 games up on June 14th.
Sure.
How fast of a start do you need?
Yeah, that wasn't last year wasn't the problem.
So, I just think like they'll be fine if they just come out and play. But that first month when they don't necessarily have Brash back all the way,
right,
and you're out, you don't have Kirby, that'll be interesting to see. Can they weather? I haven't looked that closely at their schedule to see like, is it going to be difficult? But just play and don't dig yourself a major hole. You're not asking them to be good, just don't be terrible. And I think then you get Kirby back let's say you get Kirby back by May 1st, Brash back by the end of April, Jackson Kowar or Trevor Gott or both by mid-May, then all of a sudden like your pieces are a lot better, and then that I think makes a big difference. And we'll see by then too kind of what the offense looks more like, I think the first month and a half, even if it's cold and gray there.
Yeah. The Polanco for you, I mean, swing, bat wise he's looked good this spring. Defensively, how's he looked?
Polanco? Oh, offensively he's great. Defensively he's a little he's not as inconsistent as Luis Urias.
Okay. That's not like, I don't want to put that on a t-shirt.
No, he looks a little shaky at times over there. Just he looks uncertain. Uncertain with the knee and how it's going to react to certain things, like stuff he used to do. Maybe he isn't certain that he can do that anymore. And also just the newness of the position, like going in and charging. He's not going to look smooth. Right. But the thing is Josh Rojas didn't look good in spring last year. And by doing the Perry Hill work and continuing to do it during the season, his defense got better and better and better. So I think that's their hope. I do think that like as we go on, at least early on, you could see Dylan Moore as a defensive replacement late in games.
Yeah.
That you'll see Polanco DH once or twice a week just to kind of let him build up. But I mean, he's not going to get any better defensively at third base if he doesn't play there.
Sure.
And Rowdy Tellez is pretty good defensively at first base. So then you have Rayleigh, you can move around, stuff like that, and you can play Demo at third.
Sure.
I don't think you're going to see him play 6 days a week like Polanco right away anyways to keep him healthy. So yeah, the defense will be interesting to watch. It wasn't great during the spring, biting
Well,
in.
because
So,
you got him, and then the question mark at second base.
yeah,
The defense there of Ryan Bliss. And listen, I mean, I think J.P. Crawford's okay, but J.P. Crawford's had his moments. He's not. I mean, he's a better defensive player, than I guess offensively in terms of what he's produced. But yeah, they could have some issues there in that middle infield. How have you? Do you think Bliss has got a chance to have a real breakout, or is it?
yeah, I mean, like, I think opportunity should help him. We'll see. It's the scouting report is you can beat him with fastballs. He knows it. He addressed it. Let's see if but fastball in the regular season is a lot different than the fastball during spring training.
Yeah,
and a lot of his hits came on off-speed stuff. And look, you can still have success in the big leagues by trying to hit mostly off-speed pitches, but there are going to be times where you're going to have to be able to hit a fastball, at least foul it off or do something with it. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Defensively, it's funny. He makes a lot of difficult plays, on the run stuff where it's movement and just being free and easy kind of, and just fielding it, like go and attack it. If you make it, great. If you don't. But what happens is some of the routine ones, Perry Hill calls it in the box. Well, he'll make a silly mistake. It's a bad throw on a double play feed to start a double play where you don't get two. And then, that comes back to bite you in the ass, or it's a routine throwing ball on a ground ball right at you. And so that's what you have to watch. I do think, like, with him and Polanco out there, and like you said, JP has gotten older, they're not necessarily as good of a defensive infield as they might be, like if Dylan Moore's out there or if Leo Ribas is out there. And the one thing about Bliss and some of those guys is it's interchangeable. You can option them out or whatever. I mean, Mastroboni has options too, so they can make some adjustments if they need to. But I understand why they're keeping Bliss. I think they believe that the value of Dylan Moore is not as an everyday player, but playing almost every day in different spots.
Yeah. All right, it gets underway tonight. Here it is, the long run. The Mariners and the baseball season underway, and no one better to do it. To chronicle it every week with us, all brought to you by Chalet Bulls, our good friend Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times. Go read all of his work up at the Seattle Times. Get yourself a hard copy. Get that ink on your fingers. Also, SeattleTimes.com. Get yourself a subscription today. All right, Divish, appreciate it as always. We will chat once again with our regular visit next Wednesday. It was just a special opening day show today here on a Thursday. All right, my friend, be well. We'll see you next week.
All right, man. See you.
We continue our opening day show with, it's one of our favorites. He's back. The baseball season's not complete without the great Jim Duquette, MLB Network Radio. We just had Ryan Divish on. Now we get a national perspective on the Mariners and just on the rest of baseball with Jim Duquette, who's back with us for one more year. Of course, you can find him everywhere. MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM. Jim, what's the channel on the Sirius XM?
So Sirius XM channel 89, it's 10 to 1 Eastern time. I'm on there Sunday through Friday, so
just can't get enough
of airtime.
Yeah, just can't get enough baseball.
Whew. A lot of baseball. We talk all baseball, and even when there's no baseball going on, we're talking about baseball.
There you go.
Oh my God! Thank God the season's starting. Oh,
there you go. Now we got something to talk about. Of course, former Major League Baseball GM for the Mets and the Orioles, and again, as I mentioned before, analyst, MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM, and of course, you can follow Jim on Twitter at Jim Duquette GM. All right, lots to get to here. We're going to cover the Mariners. We'll cover Cal Raleigh. Of course, that news this week with the contract extension, the overall outlook of the team, and then some of the top storylines here in baseball. Let's first start with them locking up their catcher, Cal Raleigh. This one was interesting, Jim. I'm curious from a national point of view. From a local point of view, this kind of snuck up on everyone. There was no smoke that they were talking about an extension, and then boom, out comes the news, he signs. Did you get wind of this stuff at all, that this was in the works?
I mean, there was stuff back in the spring when we were in camp there that they would like to, but there was just a lot of overall skepticism because they didn't do any real signings this winter, that there'd be any money there for any of their homegrown guys. And so, at least the front office listened to you and I, because we gave this advice all last year. When are you going to lock up Cal Riley? I mean, better late than never is the way I view it, right? We give out free advice every week on this show. So they find it, it happened. So 2025, 2024, whenever, as long as he's there for the long term.
Fair deal. When you look at it overall, I think it's a great deal for Cal, but I also think it's a great deal for the organization as well.
I thought it was a really, really good deal for both sides. I think in these type of deals, you don't want to have the ones that are so big that they prevent you from doing other things. That certainly isn't that. You want to make sure Cal is paid appropriately within where he fits within the industry. That fits. When you look at the last 4 seasons, he's been the top most productive offensive player in the sport. Wins above replacement, whatever, almost any category you want to go. You want to go home runs. It's a wide margin from, I think, Salvi. Perez is the next closest. But wins above replacement. Obviously, the catching side of things, being able to frame, the metrics are really good there too. Like he's a great two-way catcher, and those guys, they get big numbers. And this I thought was appropriate for where he is in his age and everything else too. So I like it for both sides. I thought the Mariners did a terrific job here. He's such a great, not just a great catcher. You mentioned it before. It's just the stuff on and off the field. I mean, off the field, the leadership, the quality. We've talked about it before. I think with you is that you talk about the best player on the team being Julio Rodriguez. The heartbeat of this team really has been and will continue to be Cal Raleigh, just of what he brings to the table day in and day out. The thing too, like you said, so that obviously matters. He's spoken his mind on a few occasions. We've talked about this too. And, there were times where the organization didn't really like it all that much. He's not going to change. Does he toe more of the company line? I don't think that's, part of this contract. You don't have to do that, but you are looked for to be kind of the heartbeat of that clubhouse, as you mentioned, and the spokesman of that clubhouse. And the team, as you get more younger players come in there, they look for leadership. They look for guys who've been there for a while. And for me, because he's a homegrown guy, like this is his clubhouse,
right? And
it's Julio's clubhouse. Like those are the guys, the position players that have been homegrown. It's their clubhouse, and so I like the fact that he's been willing to voice his opinion out there. And if you had given me and I'd taken a guess last year, they might have. I would have guessed that they didn't want that, go moving forward more than they wanted to embrace it for the next 5 seasons. So, that good on the Mariners for them to find that common ground there too.
100%. I mean, I thought for sure when he made it known a couple of years ago how disappointed he was that they didn't do anything and then was reprimanded for it. And, there's a public apology and all that. I just thought for sure that his time in Seattle was over. Whether they didn't want him, they would never commit money to him, or they would end up maybe trading him, or eventually when he became a free agent, he would leave on his own. So there's part of me that is just stunned, actually, that this happened. Because I don't know. I didn't expect it, and I don't think a lot of Mariner fans expected it. They're thrilled and beyond excited, but I don't think they expected it to happen.
I mean, they should be thrilled. When he's going to play 29 most of the year, 28. So I think that and again, it's hard to get two-way catchers in their prime to sign anywhere. Never mind, hey, they're coming to Seattle. And really, I'll use this kind of in a general overall Major League Baseball sense. Like the Toronto Blue Jays are on the decline because they haven't been able to sign the wrong guys. Supposedly Vladdy's going to sign there any day now. But when you don't have your own players that you're keeping them, beyond the obvious, because Julio was an obvious one. They paid him so much money, he had to take it, right? So Cal Raleigh, he's the guy for me that hopefully helps you attract others there, right? So he's going to have to be involved with future free agents or even the young guys that are coming up as part of the clubhouse chemistry. Like that's where his value. He'll be underpaid at the end of this because of all much recruiting he's going to have to do to help get this team, over the hump, so to speak, and get them into the postseason year in and year out, which is what their goal is.
What do you, speaking of contracts, then we'll move on, just kind of the outlook of the season. The next in line appears to be Logan Gilbert. What do you think Logan Gilbert should command?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? I mean, the reason why it's tough, not in the sense that you don't want him. He's got a couple years left, right? He's got this year plus 2 more after that, so it's 3 years. And I think when and then you want to buy out maybe 2 years of free agency. So and then maybe there's a club option. So this would be probably a 5-year deal somewhere in that range, and it's gonna probably have to push around 20 or so million, or more. That would be, on the lower side, like his free agent years, he's trending towards 30 million per year or more, so like, Blake Snell was 35 million this year, that the Dodgers got. We talked about him as a possibility for the Mariners. So, those 2 or 3 free agent years, they're going to be over 30 mil, right? So when you do, let's say if it's 2 years or let's say it's 3 years, that's 90 million right there. It adds up fast. So, it's going to be north of 100. The whole other problem, this is more of an industry wide too, is the risk of injury to all these starting pitchers that are out there, right? I mean, they've been relatively healthy, and hopefully Kirby won't be out long, but you do wonder on any of these guys, like, do you want to go more than 5 years anyway because of the risk?
Yeah. I was looking at the Corbin Burns, and I don't know if that's a comparable one or a comp for him. That was 6 years, 210.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that he was a free agent.
Yeah.
He was that wasn't.
This is not a free agent deal.
This is not a free agent deal. That's where the biggest difference is, and I think when you kind of look at, all right, well, what is Logan making now? In his 3+ service time, he's making 3 point. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's not it. I don't know if you have it right in front of you, but I don't
I can find
at the moment. But whatever the case is, he's going to be looking at a pay raise, probably a $2 million or so next year, and then you go probably $3 million the year before. That's his arbitration. So that that number is pretty big too. And then you add on the free agent year. That's generally how I try to value those and look at it. And I know that agents are always trying to push the envelope, but it's a good setup. Listen, any of the pitchers out there, if they get those 5-year deals, especially because of the injuries that are going around the sport, like that's very compelling for them to be able to sign that rather than turn it down.
And even if he gets a 5-year deal like this year, he's making 7.6.
Yeah,
but he gets a 5-year deal. I mean, he's a free agent at 32.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, he probably gets 9, 6, 12 mil. There's 21 for the next 2 years, right? And then those 30, before you know it, you're up to 115, 120 million. That's Zach Wheeler money, which was a couple years ago, and he was also a free agent. So, and Wheeler has since signed a contract extension. That's the other thing. You could sign a 5-year deal and then a 3-year extension beyond that. There's a lot of different variables that you can do in this type of deal. But Gilbert, for me, would absolutely be that next guy.
Okay, sum up this offseason for them.
You got 30 seconds or less?
You take as much time as you want. I mean, 5 seconds.
You and I had texted a couple times during the winter. Not a lot to say about this. It's in some ways it was an embarrassment when you look at how close they are and how little they did. And that's the unfortunate part. That's the negative side. We're close to opening day, and you're going to look and say, all right, let's look at this realistic. The entire American League is up for grabs. The American League West is up for grabs. If you look at projections, you and I, we've talked about this. I'm not a huge projections guy, but if you look at Fangraphs projections, as the Mariners finishing in first, they do have some quality there. More than any other year, though, they're built around Julio. Like, Julio better get off to a good start. Like, and they're putting a lot of faith in Edgar Martinez and Kevin Seitzer, their hitting guys, to turn around what was such an abominable offense for a good portion of the year, with the exception of the last 6 weeks or so, right, when they had the change in mentality and everything else. When you're focused, because I was guilty of this too, and I was in the front office and I promoted coaches over the wintertime. That's because that meant we didn't have a lot of money, and we were doing our best to turn chicken blank into chicken salad, and that's just that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
For this winter, they were promoting those hitting coaches like they were David Copperfield in Vegas. Like they that was magic that they were going to provide each of these hitters, and you still have to we still have these problems that we're going to talk about. I'm sure plenty the offensive woes there at home. They were better at home last year, as you know.
Yeah.
Once they had changed the hitting coaches around, but it was 3 times or 4 coaches.
Yeah, it feels. I mean, it feels like they finally have got they finally have the guys that they want. It appears that Edgar's kind of the one that I think everybody gravitates towards, and it's getting back to more of a simpler way to teach. And I mean, you know this is as much as anyone. You can get paralyzed with all the numbers and the video and I'm sure players like it, and there's all this wealth of information, but sometimes it's let's go to the backyard with your pops when you were a teenager and like, hey, just throw me a couple balls and see what happens and see where the ball goes, and I think and that's real simplistic, and but I'm not saying that's what Edgar is teaching them, but I think he's getting to more of a we need to simplify a little bit, and we'll see if it works. I mean, there was a good sample size of 34 plus games last year, and they looked better. Now, can they carry it over to the full season? But you're going back to how disappointing this offseason was, where I'm a big USA Today pie chart guy. I don't know if you remember those.
Yeah.
Back at the hard copy of the USA Today. I used to love the pie charts.
Love that.
The percentage of blame. I mean, how much goes to ownership? How much goes to Jerry Dipoto?
I think the biggest piece goes to ownership. Recently, and maybe we can talk about this more next week when we have some more time, but Forbes came out with their valuations of the organizations and teams, and Seattle was one of like 4 teams where their valuation was flat. A lot of times that valuation is based on your revenue streams, and based on the perception to some degree too. What would it take for somebody to come in and buy the Mariners? But we know their TV deals finally settled somewhat, but it is the revenues have been affected. So there's partly that. That's ownership driven more than anything else, and I think that the front office. Listen, they're the ones making this decision. They could have made some trades. We talked a lot about that. If they were more aggressive in trading Castillo or somebody like that, I think there's a deal out there they could have done and reshaped some of their offense that way, and maybe relied more on their starting pitching. The problem is that you wouldn't have as much depth as you have right now, and that's what's kind of saved you to this point too. To be able to do it with the conditions and the payroll, inflexible payroll that they've had. So that's the hard part there. They really start to they get on a lot of positive ratings on their farm system. That's going to be their way, I think, to get out of this, is to trade 1 or 2 of those. Not everybody, but trade a couple of those guys for some key pieces, and then promote the rest.
I mean, I think they can compete, obviously, for the AL West just based on the other teams in that division. But can this team truly compete to win the pennant? Can they be a World Series contender?
Yeah, I think the hardest part sometimes is getting in over that 162, because it's the battle of attrition with all the injuries that are out there, right? And the payroll. The roster in terms of its depth, it's a lot of times very, very important. And then when you get into the postseason, it's like a race, right? And it's really the hottest, that team that's playing the best, the hottest. Usually it's, you have the best, pitching, that'll get you so far in the postseason. You still have to have better balance, and so, I think that's where the offense comes in, in a postseason, is you got to be able to hit the best pitching, because the best pitching is what, you're seeing them the majority of the time. 70% of the innings in the postseason are done by about 4 starters and 3 relievers. They're the ones that are pitching the most in the postseason still. So you better be able to hit those guys. And so, you can't have a pathetic offense and think you're going to go all the way to win the World Series. But, I think right now they're out of balance offensively, but their pitching is elite still. Yeah. So that can get you so far. They're going to have to make a trade or 2, I think, offensively, though, to balance that out more.
What do you think does happen with them? Do you think you give me a prediction? The 2025 Mariners, they what? They win the West?
Yes. I don't think they win the West. I think that they are going to be in the mix for the wild card. I think they have a real good chance Listen, I wouldn't discount them necessarily in the American League West. I think the Rangers this year are the team to beat for me. With their offense, with some of their starters, hopefully health with their starters too. Their bullpen, we'll see. But I think Seattle, Houston, one or two teams in the Central, two teams in the East, all going to be competing for the 3 wild card spots. They have as good a chance as anybody, to grab one of those wild cards. So, I think that's where that would be their pathway, in my opinion. We'll wait and see on that.
Yeah. Who do you think who are you most excited? It doesn't Mariners, just anybody in general. Who are you most excited to see this year? I mean, a team player, maybe it's a bounce back. What is it in baseball? What's got Jim Duquette most excited about?
I think, to me, it's probably a boring answer, but that we haven't had a repeat winner in the World Series since 1999 and 2000. I think this is the best chance for that to happen with the Dodgers. They're that good. They're that motivated to repeat. I think they have the best chance to do it. So I'm kind of curious to see what that looks like. And Ohtani as a pitcher, like, he hasn't been able to pitch much. I'm very curious to see what that looks like. I think the National League, there are a clear 5 or 6 teams that are at least a head better than any of the teams in the American League at the moment. So I'm waiting to see what American League teams get healthy quicker and make a deal or two, an important deal or two that puts them a step ahead of the others in the American League. Because that is the American League pennant is up for grabs, and it's the most that I can remember it being in that scenario.
The Dodgers. I mean, it's just an utter failure if they don't win it again. Correct? I mean,
it is a failure. It would be a failure, I think. Yeah. I mean, they spent the most money, over $1 billion, 2 winters ago, and they backed that up with the second most spending this year. That's how ridiculous they are. They got every good player out there, and they didn't overpay for any one particular guy. They just spent on all the really good players.
Sure. Yeah, that's the way it works. How do you think Juan Soto does with the Mets?
I think he's going to have a huge year. Okay. In Citi Field, his career numbers in a lot of games now, because he played for the Nationals early in his career, it's like over 1,200 OPS, and that is a pitcher's park. It's not as much as pitcher friendly as it is in Seattle, but it's a pitcher's park at Citi Field. I think he's going to go off there. He's got a lot of protection in the lineup. The offense is really good. The top 6 guys in particular. So I think he's going to have a big year, and I think the entire offense is going to have a big year for the Mets. I'm a little concerned about their pitching, but I think their offense is going to be top 5 in the sport.
Does Mike Trout finish the season in an Angels uniform?
I think he does. I think that contract still, even if he stays healthy, I think it's hard to move. I think that's an easier contract and player to move in the wintertime when you have more teams that would be interested in. He can choose, because he's going to dictate where he ends up going.
Right.
And, I think sometimes it's like 1 or 2 that are only in the mix at a deadline. This will be a little bit more for me, something that. Oh, hold on.
Your dog likes that. That was a good point.
My dog agrees.
Yeah.
My dog agrees. I think that's the issue for me with Trout.
Who can dethrone the Dodgers?
In the in the National League, I think the Braves can.
Okay.
I think there is an argument for the Phillies and Mets, and I think there's one other team, and it's in their own division. I think the Diamondbacks could do it. I think the Diamondbacks remind me a little bit of the Padres. Padres almost knocked off the Dodgers last year. They're up 2-1 in the DS. They had them on the ropes, late in the game there, Game 4. And the Dodgers came back and won, and then won in Game 5. I think the Diamondbacks are a really, really good team. And that organization's done a terrific job with not a lot of payroll. They're about as balanced as you're going to find. They need a little bullpen help, but they're good rotation, really good offense.
Well, excited to have you back on for another year. Jim Duquette will be joining us weekly throughout the baseball season. And just thrilled to have you back on MLB Network Radio, Sirius XM radio there as well. Former GM, Orioles, and the Mets. Thank you for doing it. Happy opening day to you, and look forward to our chats every single week.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it too. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jim. We continue our preview of the upcoming Mariners season, 2025 opening day show. And, man, look who we have here.
right?
We've had Ryan Divish. We've had Dan Duquette, MLB Network Radio. Now we get the handsome Brad Adam. Ladies and gentlemen, all brought to you by John Howie Steak and Whiskey by John Howie. And, of course, you know Brad, 20-plus years. 25 years now at Root Sports?
It's going to be 25, my friend. 25th opening day.
25 years. Man. John Howie Steak, #1 restaurant in Seattle by the readers of Seattle Magazine. They sponsor the #1 baseball host in Seattle,
sure.
Brad Adam.
Sure.
Classic Steakhouse, best selection of hand-cut steaks, USDA Prime, Japanese A5 Wagyu. Is it Wagyu or Wagyu? Right, Wagyu?
I think it's Wagyu.
Wagyu? Wagyu?
You can see how many times I order it. Wagyu?
No, I've ordered it.
Wagyu.
I always feel like I'm mispronouncing it every single time.
You know what we need to do is we're approaching this the wrong way because every time we go in and we ask for John, he's never there, right?
Okay.
At the restaurants, John Howie's never, or maybe he's there, doesn't want to come see us. I ask him every time. Now maybe we say, hey, instead of us coming to your place, let's invite him to a game. Let's say, hey.
Or I thought you were going to say, how about to your pad?
No,
how about a private dinner at the Adam household?
That he caters? Then yes.
Yes, that he cooks. Yes.
John,
I'm not going to cook for him.
Yeah, John, if you come over, can you bring like 4 steaks, 4 potatoes?
Hey, and you think you're getting the day off. You're working.
Yeah. Maybe we invite him to the pen and we see a game with him in the pen and say, hey, we'll buy you a few beers.
I'm in. I'm in. Also, he's got Whiskey by John Howie, named one of top whiskey bars in America by Whiskey Advocate magazine. Whiskey by John Howie features global selections of rare and well-done whiskeys with something for everyone, like Brad. From the curious to the connoisseur, Whiskey boasts a collection of hundreds of bottles from around the world. There he is, Brad Adam. You ready? You ready for later today? Does the makeup process start in the morning?
Yes, it's already started. I've got
You've already applied the makeup.
Yeah,
good. You look wonderful.
It's the first layer that I put on. You got to wait about a couple hours, spackle on the next one, sand off the other ones.
What people don't know is Brad actually has he's curated human mask faces that allows him
to look younger,
to stay the same age at 30. So what he's done is this technology and it removes them. Brad actually is 98 years old. He just puts on the mask.
It takes a while to put the mask on. It's tricky when I travel. I'm back on the road this year, so now I've got a different type of mask. Now you got a dry ice to keep them, so they don't dry out. Yeah,
You excited?
I am excited.
Yeah.
We're all, being
Everybody's
fans,
excited.
you're always excited, right?
Sure.
But then you look past that, you look at the news from Cal Raleigh, which is fantastic.
Great.
You look at kind of what's happening in the West, and you look at the Mariners, and you just think, you let your mind go, right? Say everything's going to work this year, and they're going to make the playoffs, and they might even win the division and go deep in the playoff. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now, right? Because there's such a good feeling. Yeah, exactly.
You've got 97 wins.
About 97. They just run the table. Yeah, home field throughout the playoffs. They win the West. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Take out the Dodgers, Game 7. It's Logan versus Ohtani.
Ohtani hits, pitches, does it all.
Yeah.
Bets Mookie's still sick. He won't play.
How about that story? What I don't understand about the Mookie Betts story. Okay, fine.
What?
Yes. One, he's sick and he can't keep any food down.
Right.
For people who don't know the story, and this is a Mariners opening day show, but Mookie Betts has lost like 20 pounds. And every time he eats,
he's
he throws
small
up.
Anyway.
But he says, other than that, I feel great. Like I've got all this strength. I feel healthier than I ever have. It's every time I eat, I just throw it up. And I'm wondering, where does one find the prescription for that?
Yeah, right.
Where can I get that?
Good.
Feel good, but every time I eat, I just throw up and I lose 20 pounds.
I'm losing weight. But I'm strong and healthy. That doesn't make
I'd pay a lot of money for that drug.
Oh, that's why Mookie stays one of the best players. Yeah. No, I know.
So, I mean, you get excited, right? You guys, and it's a lot of different levels of excitement, I would imagine, for you. You're going in your 25th year of being, working at Root Sports, Northwest Sports before that. And then, the countless years of covering the team. And then it's baseball, so that's fun and exciting.
Right.
But also for you personally, professionally, there was an uncertainty right?
Mm-hmm.
There was an uncertainty about what was going to go on, what was going to happen to Root. Was there going to be a Root?
Right.
And then they saved it, and it's still here. They announced the streaming app, and it's like, it just feels, I would imagine for you, it's much bigger than just, hey, baseball's starting today, because this is your job, this is your livelihood.
Right. And it's to get to this point, you're right, it was a question mark in the off season, but to be there, to have the app, which is, I think, going to be huge for us. We've still lost some people, which is too bad. But yeah, it's without getting too involved or emotional, caught up in it. It's a good opening day for us, and
you have a job.
We have a job.
You have a job.
Be honest, we have a job,
and you love what you do.
Yeah, it is good.
You're in the fun department,
right? And now,
this is fun.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
not a job. It's
home
fun.
show is going to look the same. I'll be traveling this year on the road, so we'll be doing our cast from hotel rooms all across America, my friend.
Yeah. How many times do you think when we do this weekly, you'll do it from a golf course? What are the odds?
Well, I guess I could do it on my phone, huh?
You
the
can
podcast,
do it on your phone
before we just would chat, but I could probably do. If that's the case, then we'd have
a lot
more opportunities, right? Especially if it's an off day. If we have to tape on an off day,
looking forward to we can always tape it. It's perfect.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the days you just put the phone down and then I hear you hitting the ball
and then a whacking.
And I can see it too. Yeah. Getting upset about it.
A lot of that stuff though. But hey, getting back to being Root and having us there and going through this stuff, we're excited about it. Excited about the year. There's going to be a lot of some differences in the broadcast and how we televise games and what it's going to look like. MLB's coming in, and taking over production. So the people will be the same. There'll be a lot of rotating. There'll be some more in-game reports from Jen at home and myself on the road. They want us kind of in the dugout, bringing you kind of immediate reaction.
So kind of what we see on a national level.
Yes. And a little bit like spring. I don't know if you've seen any spring games. Spring's a little easier to get guys, when they come out of the game, you can do a quick interview. Dan Wilson did him a few times interviewing the games.
So we'll get in the dugout interviews with players and Wilson, like in the third inning. Let's talk to Dan. Hey, Dan, why'd we send a Rosarina there?
Hey, whoa, what happened there? Yes, but not every game.
Not every game.
Not every game, but we will definitely have some games where Dan will talk to us right between innings, and then we'll run that back. If players, if they hit a big home run and there's a chance to maybe grab him real quick in the dugout, we can do that. It's just we're going to have to kind of trial and error, kind of see things how it goes this year, because that's MLB. You're right, on the national level, that's what they get to do, and teams during the regular season aren't used to that, and they don't necessarily like that intrusion.
Sure,
which I get it. So we're going to have to kind of maybe slow play it a little bit, but more reports, more inside stuff, more immediate reaction during the games. I think that'll be a lot of fun this year.
And to clarify for me, and then maybe there's other people out there that have the same question, the streaming app does not just cover the game, correct? It covers all of Root Sports.
Your Root Sports 24/7. So whatever you see on Root, the channel, you get that on the app.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
So when I want to watch my fishing show, that's on there.
You got it.
When
Sunday mornings at 8?
When I want to watch my Sunday morning bass fishing show, that's on there?
Absolutely.
I love that stuff.
Yeah. It's
I
good.
Eat that up, man.
And it's like every cast they get a fish. How do they do it?
Everyone. And then and let me ask you
something. Do they edit that, do you think?
Let me ask you something, Brad. Is the old golf instructor guy still doing stuff on there? And he's always got like the really attractive, it just seems like they just got out of college.
Jimmy? Was it Jimmy maybe?
Jimmy, yes. It was Jimmy. And I
don't know.
His cheeks are so red because he's on his 6th G&T.
And he's got these college-age golfers like little skirts.
Susie. Yeah. It's not Susie. It's Tracy.
Susie.
You got to get your hips through.
Come on. Let me show you. Come here. Come,
as long as
I
daddy. I can still have Jimmy.
I think it's
well
Jimmy.
worth it.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. We got. So you're doing the studio from home. On the road, Jen's going to be in the dugout at home.
At home, right.
And then Angie, we got in the broadcast booth.
Yes, she'll be also with me. So like the opening weekend, she's with me out in center field. Ryan Roland-Smith up in the booth. But they'll be, they rotate during the season along with Val and Buhner. It was fun to see Buhner on Sunday night at the Mariners opening week.
Sure.
He's just a treasure. So
Same old guy.
Yeah, it'll be fun to have him, listen to him.
Better have that dump button, whoever
games.
your producer and director
Exactly.
is.
Yeah.
Better have that on a delay.
His baseball lingo is creative and second to none.
It's not the clubhouse, sir.
It's not the clubhouse,
Can't say that stuff.
You can't. Ugh.
Well, the biggest news of the week is Cal Raleigh.
Love it.
$105 million, 6-year deal. I'll be honest, I never thought we'd see this day that he'd sign an extension here.
I agree. We've talked about this for years, haven't we?
Yes,
sign him. And he did. And you know what? Who makes a big difference in there is Dan Wilson. He makes a huge difference. Very close with Cal. Catchers, they understand the position. A relationship that I think Cal feels really good and comfortable with going forward. And I think that was Dan in charge. I think that's a big plus and a big reason why Cal felt great and was able to sign. So kudos to the Mariners. That is a great signing.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing about it was, he just kind of came out of nowhere, right? There was really no smoke about it. There was no smoke about a deal imminent at all. And then all of a sudden, you just get, and I'll be honest, I don't know who the first reporter was that broke the story, but it's just all of a sudden, it's like, bam, he's got a deal. You're like, excuse me?
Like, wow.
What? He does? Like, where was that? And I know everyone's pointing to this was going to happen because he's no longer, represented by Scott Boras. Keep in mind, Scott Boras wasn't like his agent. I mean, he overran the agency. His agent.
Lots of agents. Yeah.
They have lots of agents. His agent under Scott Boras' agency is still his agent. He just left to go to a new agency, create his own agency. So, shout out to Joe Doyle, who gave me that information. He's like, I just want to make you. I want to give him some credit for that.
Gotcha.
Because I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I mean, I thought that was a big step, but maybe it had something to do with it. Maybe this agent gets out of the umbrella there of Scott Boras. But you're right. It's great news.
Yeah.
You sign this guy for so many reasons, not just what he does on the field, but off the field. He's the exact guy who you want to pay.
Right. And now pitchers look at that and say, well, that's awesome. Cal's my guy for the next 6 years. I mean, not that they wouldn't have signed anyway, but now pitchers are saying, I want to let's continue this, right? I mean, they've had great success. I mean, when they get to free agency or even before that, there's no reason to leave now when you got the great park, you got the pitching, you got development, you got pitching coach, you got Cal now. It's like very attractive. And also for free agent pitchers. I mean, it's a very attractive place to come if you're a pitcher. I mean, they do it right here, and Cal is the best catcher. So why wouldn't you want to throw to him? So I'm excited about the guys hopefully staying, bringing in new guys. I mean, it's the signing is going to have, I think, kind of a ripple effect, and I think it's going to be really good to see the next couple of years what Cal means, the signing, what he means to this team. It's going to be awesome.
And it can push even more. It's like 120-something million. He's got a $20 million vesting option.
Sure.
As Ken Rosenthal had pointed out, if he catches, 100 innings as catcher for 4 or 6 years.
He will.
He will. And here's the thing is he likes to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe to a point. Maybe he wants a day off every now and again.
Most games, most innings caught last year, Maybe they can relax and save him a little bit, get him some more DH stuff, knowing that they've got him for these 6 years. You don't have to grind him for the next 3 and then let him go. Now it's like, let's just preserve him a little bit, right?
I thought for sure he was gone. I just never thought that they would extend him based on kind of what he has said publicly in the past about the team, and then I just thought the way they were using him was kind of signaling that they're just going to kind of beat every inning out of him before he walks. And but they didn't. And I mean, now they can turn their attention probably to Logan Gilbert, see if they can get, Logan Gilbert signed up. That's going to cost them $200 million plus.
Probably. Yeah, probably. He's got one more year arbitration, or is it 2? Either one or two
I
more
don't have my arbitration guy on the line right now.
But you're right, it's going to be big. And again,
of course it's going to be big.
Very close with Cal. Again, he sees his good buddy stay. Let's run it back, right?
I was at spring training, and I watched.
Yes, how was it?
It was great. It was wonderful. Sun was great. I don't know why we don't live in an area where there's sun all the time. It's good for the soul.
You think about that. I know.
I watched Cal Raw. I think this was during his streak of 9 straight challenges where he got correct.
And he doesn't like it.
I believe I saw 4 of them. He got all 4 correct.
Amazing.
And I'm thinking that poor ump, which I always think is kind of like, it is. Can you imagine your work, whatever you do, being fact-checked in real time in front of thousands of people?
Yeah.
Like, I thought when they did this system, this replay system, there would be like someone that gets in his ear and goes, yeah, you actually missed it. It's going to be a strike there instead of a ball. Okay, yeah. And then they just showed on the big screen for everyone
fans
to
love.
see.
Yeah.
And you're saying, where's it going? It's kind of a slow, the EQC tracer, and then it lands, and everyone goes, yeah, and it erupts. You guys have got to do some type of giveaway route every time, like when they implement this in the big leagues, like next year.
Probably next year.
Some giveaway. Like bring back the rally fry girl or something where somebody delivers fries to some lucky person in the audience, or I don't know.
When
everyone gets free
right.
Taco Bell every time we get it right.
We get a challenge right. Yeah. For someone who doesn't like it, Kyle Raleigh doesn't like the ABS system. You're right. He's the master of it. He finally
likes to frame pitches.
10 of 11. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, we get fact checked, on the air, but it's not quite in real time in front of
it's not in real time.
Stadium. Yeah.
Let's fact check a third inning. Let's fact check Brad
right?
Adam. Brad said this in the second inning, and he got the stat wrong.
Yeah. The umps hate ABS.
Oh.
It's just.
I would say this, though, that what I liked about it, gives me more respect for them, and I hope this gives more respect to the people that are watching this, is that they're not that far off, guys.
No, they're not.
Like,
those pitches are close.
We act as if the ball is in the next dugout sometimes, and they miss it by a fraction.
Yeah.
It's a fraction. He challenged one that literally, the one seam touched the edge. And he was able to get it a strike. So
yeah, coming in at 98 miles an hour too. It's
good luck. Good luck with that.
Difficult, but I think it is coming around. Once they can figure out the box for each height and stuff, they're still trying to adjust and work on that and figure some stuff out there. But I think it's coming. Right. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine like a game decided on that, or like a huge play, like everybody just sees a big screen?
Game 7 of the World Series, M's and Dodgers, Gilbert versus Ohtani. They challenge a last pitch.
Cal hitting a homer to win it.
Yeah. All right. So what has you so fired up? You look at this team. What's got you so excited about it?
I think obviously the pitching. I mean, that's an easy one. I just think kind of the feel, down in spring training. It's just a good kind of. I don't know. These guys just seem ready to play. Dan is stressing the importance of getting out to a good start. And you look at the schedule. I mean, you got 13 of the first 16 at home, and then more after that. I mean, so April's really home heavy.
And the opponents aren't
crucial to get out. No, they're not great. Remember, it's just the A's, not Oakland, not Sacramento, not Las Vegas.
Just the Athletics.
So I think it's important they get off to a good start, and Dan's been stressing that. Be ready to go from the get-go. That's why Julio's got more at-bats, right? That's why the guys have been stretched out. They're ready to go. And I think that they understand the importance of early season, not just late season. I mean, you miss playoffs by a game, you could go back and look at 50 games, right, and say, we won this, we won this. So I think they understand the importance of early season games. I think Edgar's going to help over a full season. I think, with the bullpen being healthy, knock on that. Brash looked great in his one outing.
Sure.
Hope he comes back. If they're healthy, he can get it to Munoz. I think there's no reason why he can't have at least 30 saves, being another all-star season. So I think there's a lot of positives here. And, with the offense, I mean, it is what it is. It's not going to be great. It shouldn't be as bad as last year. So I think, the Edgar effect, like I said, for the whole season.
I want that on a T-shirt.
What's that? It can't be as bad.
It shouldn't be as bad as last year.
But I just think that, there's lots of positives now. Obviously, we'll see what happens when the season starts. I don't think the West is very good.
Yep,
I just saw the Rangers have got those 2 young pitchers in the rotation. They've got no bullpen. Altuve is going to play left field. I thought that was a joke, but have you seen any spring training? It's like...
Well, I saw one where he was just like running around in a circle and the ball dropped.
10-year-old running around, and he's got no arm. It's just... I mean, he wasn't great at second. I get that, but man, that's a head scratcher. So
yeah, well, trying to find a spot for him.
Yeah, true. So I just
where else would you play him?
I don't know. I don't know why you would move him from second. I mean, he doesn't kill you at second. I don't know. But I just think that there's just lots of positives, and I just, maybe it's because it's, March and opening
that
day.
plays a part
We're
into it.
excited. Everybody's excited.
Absolutely plays a part into it.
But get off to a good start. That's going to be crucial for these guys.
And then the
Big
same
time.
things that makes you worry are the same things that probably we've talked about before, right? Will they not get enough production from their offense?
Mm-hmm.
Are they taking a gamble? I think the one thing that they're taking a gamble with, because they're so dependent on pitching and defense, is a real gamble at second and third, because that can really come back and bite you. Some games.
They're trying to find some offense, right? You hope Polanco bounces back, and Bliss
for sure
has made some adjustments. Maybe he can hit a fastball now. But you're right. You're giving up some defense, which, pitching and defense is what you build your team around.
I don't think it's the greatest middle infield defensive.
No.
When you throw all of them,
first is like,
Well, you're breaking in a guy who's never played there,
right? And Big Rowdy's okay. Solano is okay.
Yeah,
so it's. Yeah, I think that you lose.
They weren't clean in the spring.
They
definitely were not clean in the spring.
No.
So that would be.
I could see Dylan Moore playing a lot of 8th and 9th inning defense.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Third and second.
For sure.
Yeah. Left field maybe.
Yeah. Do we have anything? We have anything planned special tonight? What time does it start?
I love opening day because we come on.
We got kids running around the bases, right?
We got an hour. Yeah, Blair the Make-A-Wish kid is running around the bases. We get that, which we love. We got
so this starts at 6.
6 o'clock. That is correct. Okay. So we do about a half-hour show, and then about 6:30 or so, we turn things over to the Mariners, who've got the Gold Glove presentations for Cal and Dylan. You got Ichiro's first pitch. Now, last time I'm pretty sure he hit 84. His last first
84.
Pitch. This first pitch, we'll see. He's been working out. He's ready for it. I'm guessing, I don't know, maybe Cal catches it. We'll see. Maybe there'll be a surprise guest. You never know what they're going to do with Mariners.
Who would catch him?
I don't know.
Maybe Dan Wilson catches him.
Maybe get Dan Wilson. Maybe Ichiro.
Yeah, Dan Wilson.
Ichiro, maybe Junior. I don't know.
Sure.
Might be a surprise guest. You got the intros from right field, which I always love.
Yeah.
Magenta carpet, not the red carpet.
Yes.
It's just kind of, the festivities, pageantry of opening day. I love that. So
great.
Yeah, so it'll be a full hour pregame, and looking forward to it. And at Mariners and A's, Logan getting after it. 7-10.
Well, we are looking forward to you. I'm happy for you and all the crew in front of the camera. I'm really happy for people behind the scenes. And people just associated with you guys.
Yeah,
just happy that we got another year and more baseball to come for you guys and everyone there at Root Sports. And then just happy that you're back. You're back one more year. Brought to you by John Howie Steak, voted #1 restaurant in Seattle by the readers of Seattle Magazine, and Whiskey by John Howie, named one of the top whiskey bars in America by Whiskey Advocate Magazine. And no one's going to argue with Whiskey Advocate Magazine. You can't do it.
No, because they're the advocates.
They are.
And the experts.
I love those commercials.
And they drink more whiskey than we do, so they know.
That's right. Well, we'll see. We'll see about that.
It's a challenge.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. Look forward to our chats every week.
Yes, me too. Thank you. Thanks, Buck.
Be well. We wrap up our opening day show with a feature that we introduced a few weeks ago that will become a part of the regular weekly rotation when we discuss baseball, and it is the Scout. The Scout, we have an anonymous Major League Baseball scout with us every single week. We have to protect him and his family and loved ones. We cannot release his identity, and he gives us the inside look on the Mariners, inside look on Major League Baseball. 30-plus years in baseball, college baseball. It is another edition of the Scout as we wrap up our Major League Baseball show. Scout, I welcome back. I would say that today's got to be a pretty big day for you and everybody involved in Major League Baseball. Opening day is here, and it's a national holiday. At least it should be a national holiday.
It sure should. And I get so excited. I've obviously been part of the Game Puck for a long time, so I've seen a lot of opening days, but got some friends that really take this opening day to a next level. Usually I'm at a park doing something, watching a game or coaching a game, and I got some friends that they barbecue early. They started going a little bit. So I'm probably more excited for them than I am, considering I'm on the road and I'll probably be on an airplane here pretty soon.
Does it ever not get though exciting? Do you still get kind of those butterflies?
Yeah, the new season, because we all have favorite players and we have favorite teams and things like that. So yeah, it's exciting. And baseball's a little different because in a professional season there's 162 games. Basketball you got 82, and in football you got about 17 or 18. So you want to kind of keep your emotions underneath you because it's a long season.
Yeah, it is. All right, we'll take a deep dive and a look at the Mariners and just some specific players for this upcoming season for the Mariners. We've talked, at least in the first episode, about what they didn't do so much in the offseason. Let's start, though, with someone that obviously stirs the drink for the Mariners, and if he can get off to a better start and have a better season, the trickle-down effect to the other players would be an immense pickup for this team. Let's talk about Julio Rodriguez. What can he do better, Scout, as an offensive player? What can he do better to contribute earlier in the season and work on some of the maybe mechanics that have kind of plagued him maybe last year specifically?
Yeah, Puck, I'm not sure if it's mechanics, to be completely honest with you, because it's not like when you watch Julio play, it's not like his swing changes a whole lot. I think the biggest problem with Julio, to be honest with you, he's 24 years old right now, right? He's 24 years old, and he's been in the big leagues for 3 years. In 22, when he first got called up, he just, he did things he shouldn't have done, right? In the big scheme of things, right? He hit 284, he had an OPS of 853, he slugged almost 510. So he kind of did more than he was supposed to do. And then the last, the 2 years after that, it just slid a little bit, not a ton, right? And if you compare Julio to the other starting center fielders, last year, just in the last 3 years, Puck, last year was his first year, right? Well, the average major league center fielder hit 243. He hit 273, right? The OPB is 311. His was 325, right? The OPS was 730, 734, and the average was 720. So he's playing at above average. I just think when you sign that big contract, and there's some pressure on the Mariners because they want to get it going, they want to stop that playoff drought and those types of things. So I just think a guy like Julio needs to be him, and just if Mariner fans just want to put the prayers, if you got some prayers, just hey, let's get him off to a good start, because it doesn't matter what sport you're playing, whether it's baseball, basketball, football. Your best players have to play good for you to have a successful season. So, that's just kind of how it is.
How does he? I mean, this is an obvious question. How does he make the team better? What specifically, when he's right, what does it do for the rest of that group and that lineup?
Well, it takes a little bit of pressure. Obviously, everybody makes it a big deal that he hits leadoff, right? You only lead off, you only really hit leadoff very often one time a game to lead the game off, right? But he just gets up more, right? He just gets up more, and he's dangerous, right? He's a dangerous guy. He's got plus speed. He can steal a base. So, if he's selective and takes his walks, he's got a chance to, steal a base. So all of a sudden turns into a double. If he gets this, he can really be aggressive with the fastball in the strike zone. He's a guy that can leave the yard, and he can leave the yard in any part of the field. So he's a legitimate 5-tool player that can do everything. And then what happens is, baseball's really hard, and people forget how hard this game is, right? So, and when you're paid the way he's paid, I don't know Julio Rodriguez, but I know that, he has a passion for the game. He has a passion for his teammates. He loves the Mariners, and he wants to do really, really well. So, for a guy like him, I'm just hoping for his sake, the Mariners' sake, he just relaxes and just plays his game. Because when he plays his game, he's one of the top 10 players in baseball.
And he should be a guy, right, Scott? He should be a guy that, we get infatuated with the home run numbers and all of that, but he should be a guy that is leading the American League, at least up there in the American League in stolen bases, and certainly in triples and doubles.
Yeah, he's got that type of speed. It's funny, too, because when I first started working for the organization that I work for, I saw him in Everett. And I thought he was going to be more of a Vladimir Guerrero senior, like a right fielder, big power guy. I had no idea. He's actually gotten faster as he's gotten older. From the time he was 20 to 23, he got faster. He's a legitimate center fielder that can really play defense, and, he can hit and run for days. But, I think some people have talked about the stolen bases. I don't know with Dan Wilson, does he have the green to go? When you're playing a premium position like center field and there's a wear and tear of 162 games, sometimes you're not stealing as many bases just because you're trying to, take care of that body a little bit. But like I said, he can do it all. So like I said, he's going to need to do those types of things for the Mariners to have success. But hopefully, all the pressure doesn't lie on him, because that's a lot for a young man that's just now 24 years old going into his fourth season in the big leagues.
We've talked about this player before, but it appears as they will get underway here tonight that Ryan Bliss is their answer there at second base. Now, when you watch Ryan Bliss, he has all the capabilities of hitting. The knock on him is going to be his fielding. What do you, from a scout's perspective, when you look at Ryan Bliss, what stands out to you?
Well, I think it's the opposite. I think when he settles in, I think he's going to be a better defender than a hitter.
Okay.
At second base. If you look at his career numbers in the minor leagues, he played a lot of shortstop too, so you're going to make more errors at shortstop. He's more fitted to play second base. So on the defensive side, I think he's going to be an above average defender once he settles in. Offensively, he was young last year, obviously, in 2024 when he got up in the big leagues, he had 71 at bats and only hit 222. But, he struck out 31% of the time and only walked 8% of the time because he's a free swinger. Usually when you're he's 5'7", 165 pounds. Smaller guys are more hit the ball on the ground, run, and do those types of things. Well, he kind of plays the big boy game a little bit. He hits the ball in the air, and he hits some home runs in the minor leagues, but that's really not going to be his game. And we've talked about it, especially in the Northwest. People have talked about nausea on the ballpark. T-Mobile is not the place where you want to hit the ball in the air all the time. But I think he's a really good player, and Julio's going to be way more important for Bliss than Bliss would be for Julio. A guy like Julio Rodriguez, those guys. If your frontline guys are playing really good, your peripheral players like Bliss, my guess is that Bliss is probably a guy that's going to hit 8 or 9 in the lineup. So you just want that guy to play really good defense, steal some bases, control the barrel, execute a little bit, and put the big boys in the position to drive in runs.
You envision him? Can you see him as an everyday player, an everyday second baseman?
Yeah. On the right team, I don't know if, like I said, I don't think he's the type of guy, from my view, that he's going to carry a team, but I think he can be adequate. Unfortunately for him, I think the Mariners' better prospects are younger than him, playing the same position. The Seattle Mariners have some really fine young middle infielders, and they've got some guys that hit some left-handedness, and that's also usually a little bit more of an advantage when you hit left-handed. Ryan Bliss is a right-handed hitter, so he's a really good player. He brings great value to that organization. But if you were to ask me honestly, I think the future of the middle infield is in the minor leagues for the Mariners.
Let's go over to third base. Jorge Polanco. You tell me from a scout's perspective how easy or how difficult this transition is to go from second to third. He has at times not looked comfortable over there. He's coming off an off-season knee surgery. He's hit the ball well down in spring training. But what about the transition for Polanco now to going to a new position at his age and with his injury history?
That's tough. That's really, really tough. The older you get, the less rangy you are. At third base, you need to be a little bit more reactionary, right? You don't have to be as rangy at third for the most part. Got to have courage. You're going to play in. You're going to have to play on the run a little bit more. So his age, all those things factor in. And unfortunately for him, he's a good player, obviously, but Father Time takes, is hard on all of us, right? He'll be 32 during the year, right? During the year. So to make a position change at that time, it's a little bit more difficult. But as the older you get, the stronger you get. And unfortunately in baseball, it's all about profiling. Like when you're playing third base, they want you to hit the ball over the fence nowadays. When, I don't want to put your age out there, Puck. I don't want guys to realize how too old you are. But the Wade Boggses of the world, the George Bretts, those types of guys, those guys aren't playing third base anymore. The guys that are hitting 300 with, 45 doubles but only 14 home runs, they want guys to hit it in the seats. So good player. He, like I said, he's had some struggles, in his last year in Minnesota, he hit 255, and then last year was 213. I think he'll do a little bit better job, but I think everybody in that offense probably put some pressure on themselves. So once again, it's not about Julio, but if the entire group doesn't get off to kind of a poor start like it did, it puts less pressure on guys. So like I said, he's a good player, and I think he's key. I think he's not the most important player for the Mariners, but obviously he's key for him to have some success and to get off to a good start.
Hey, Scout, one thing I've thought about with this team is just what could be a question mark or concern as we head into the season, and something I'm just going to keep an eye on is just going to be how their infield defense handles everything, because you've got guys in new positions, right? We've just talked about Polanco going over to a new position. Luke Raley, again, is played a little bit over there, but he's learning to go basically full-time at first base, and he's a good enough athlete, and he'll probably do okay and do quite well. We've mentioned Ryan Bliss. J.P. Crawford's getting up in age, and, J.P. Crawford, I don't know, when we talk about elite shortstops, is certainly not, I don't think, fitting in that category. Overall, when you look at that group, could you see some concerns with their defense moving forward for this season?
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at new position, Puck, and also older, right? Their age, they're getting up in age. But how you get to be really good defensively is you pitch and you strike people out.
Yeah,
so the Mariners can do that. So it's a combination. If you just want that the Mariner team that they'll put out on defense, but you just want them to be they want them to secure the baseball. The outfield's going to be a little bit more rangy, but an infield, if they can make their routine play the way they have the potential to pitch, it'll be a defense that, like I said, it'll be a high percentage defense. It might not be really rangy, and that doesn't show up a lot of times. The average fan, all you're going to look at is the fielding percentage, right? You're going to see, hey, do they make errors? Do they not? If you dig in deep behind the scenes and you have some analytics, you're going to see about how rangy are they. And a 23-year-old young shortstop's not going to be. He's going to have more range than 32-year-old shortstop. A 26-year-old third baseman. Some of the best players in baseball, they lose that range. Trout's going to play a corner outfield now, and Mike Trout's, arguably one of the best players of our generation. But like we said earlier in the broadcast, Father Time catches up with all of us. So, like I said, I think it'll be a solid defense, and one of the reasons why is because I think that pitching staff is so good.
So, but what do you think about J.P. Crawford, and when you evaluate him?
I think he's 32. I think he's had a good career. And I think his best baseball is behind him. I think he can still play good baseball, but I don't think his best baseball is ahead of him.
Yeah. You mentioned the young prospects. So you've had your eyes on these. I'm going to assume you've seen these guys based on your job. When we start looking at them right now, and I'm gonna leave out Montez for just a second. I want to talk about the infield. When you look at Colt Emerson, Cole Young, and Celestin, for you, which is the one? Again, maybe all three of them hit, but the odds say no. But who do you have your eye on the most of that group?
I mean, the game's about offense, right? In the big scheme of things, even though back in the day we used to talk about middle infield play all about defense. Well, you got to hit. Emerson's really special with the bat. They all are, right? I mean, another second baseman, Michael Arroyo, right? He's a good one too. Like they've got good. All those guys are great, but Emerson, sometimes he'll do some things with the bat that's pretty special.
Okay. So Emerson would be just the one that, when you look at it from an offensive standpoint, is the one that stands out the most.
Yeah, but the guy that will stand out the most is whoever can stand it short, right? Because a lot of guys can be, a lot of times guys that are shortstops that are solid shortstop, but they're bat first guys, they'll slide over to second base. It'll be that offensive second baseman type guy. They're going to need a shortstop because I got to believe with JP's age, he's getting up to the point where, in baseball, like that's just an older guy. So they're going to have to find a guy eventually, probably not this year, but he has had some injuries, right? But he's, JP's 30 years old right now. I could see him playing, up the middle as an everyday shortstop next year. But eventually, like I said, they're going to have to make a move. And the good part for the Mariners is that they have some young players to go to.
And in a perfect world, let's say they all hit, they all pop, and I didn't even mention Arroyo, but let's say, would the perfect situation be Celestin at shortstop, Emerson at third, and then Cole Young at second?
Yeah, that could definitely be the case. Like I said, I don't know. It would be great for them and rare because it's really hard to think that you're going to have three young guys.
Correct.
Playing at the same time, especially with, if you think about Emerson, he's had 2 years of minor league baseball.
Yeah.
That's all he's really had. So, the sample size, and he's also done that at the lower levels. You really want to see what guys are going to do kind of for a full season at AA, right? If you get a full season at AA, you're going to face some really, really good pitching. Like last year, Young, he was in AA for 552 at bats. He's a full season there and hit 271. The good thing that I really like about Cole Young is that he's basically even when it comes to based on balls and strikeouts, right? He's throughout his entire career, he's walked just as much or more than he struck out from high school to professional baseball. So they've all got their strengths. I think they're interchangeable, and I think, like I said, my guess is with the Mariners, kind of some of the offensive struggles they had, whoever's their best hitter, whoever they think is going to be a really, really, the best offensive player, he'll be able to work at the Marlins. Let's say they're struggling at third, they need to call somebody up. The best offensive player, no matter where he's at, AA or AAA, he'll play third. If it's at short, maybe he'll come up to play short, so that person can be comfortable playing that position before he gets to the big leagues.
What do you think of Lazaro Montes, the outfielder, who everyone compares to Yordan Alvarez?
I think he's a monster. I think he makes the batter's box look as small as I've ever seen. Long levered guys. His arms are so long and he's so big and strong. He's up on top of the plate. It's hard to keep balls fair sometimes. But as a pitcher, you're facing a guy like that. You're knowing if you miss, he can hit it as far as anybody. In the minor leagues, when I was watching him take BP, he's hit him as far as anybody I've ever seen it. So he's a special one, too. He's going to be a really good one. So if he could continue to progress, and Julio Rodriguez in the center and a guy like Montez in the right, those are great corner pieces for an organization like the Mariners.
He's 20. What do you think? Next year? Is that too soon?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest problems is that what I just said is that you got to think about. Let's see what he does at AA.
Yeah.
Right. AA is when that pitching gets better. If he has an outstanding year this year in AA and really produces and puts up big numbers, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a September call-up with an expectation the following year to be the everyday right fielder in the big leagues, right field DH or whatever you want to say. But it's easy to get excited about guys in A-ball, but he spent basically, last year in Modesto and Everett and did a great job. But AA is the big year for him.
Okay. I got one more. I want one more for you. Have you got a chance to see the switch pitcher, Durangelo?
I haven't got to see him live.
Okay.
Like I've got to see him on video. And when he was coming out in the draft, he's already throwing a lot harder. And when I was a college coach, I faced a guy that pitched in the big leagues, was a switch guy. We actually, when I was coaching college baseball, we played him the first game of the year. And my guys were like, "Hey, coach, we didn't have a scout report on this guy." I'm like, "Well, I didn't either. I had no idea this guy could throw with both hands." I'm super intrigued on how they'll use him, right? Because there's only so many pitches, not just about your arm, but your lower half, your legs, right? When your legs give out, then you use more arm, and you're more susceptible to injury. So, I'm not smart enough to know how to do that, and I don't think there's a real recipe, right? There's throwing programs for guys. I never read the throwing program for the switch pitcher, right? So I don't know much about that, but I saw him in college on video. Saw him, we talked about him in the draft room. And special, unique talent that's throwing harder from both sides than I thought. But his velocity from the right hand is ticked up, and his velocity from the left hand is ticked up. So he's interesting.
Last thing for you: is this a playoff team? Right now, as we're hours away from the start of the season.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, anytime that you have a club that most, or I think most baseball people, if you said who's the top, give me the top 2 or 3 pitching staffs in American League, in the game, the Mariners are always going to be in that conversation. And baseball's won by pitching and defense. I've watched college games this week. I've watched pro games. I've watched high school games, right? And the team that pitches the best, they give themselves a chance to win, and they're usually a playoff team. So it shouldn't be any different. They just, like I said, going to have to play a little bit better offensively. And I really just think they will. Like I said, even though don't work for the Mariners, I think it's a great club with great pitching, and I think they've got a legitimate chance to do that.
There he is, the scout, giving you the real scoop on the Mariners and baseball from an anonymous baseball scout who currently works in Major League Baseball, has been covering the sport for the past 30 years. Well, I hope you can enjoy opening day like your buddies are when they're grilling and having pops and beers everywhere. But you know what? Eventually that will be you, Scout. Appreciate the time and appreciate our chats every single week throughout the baseball season.
Awesome. You bet, Buck. My pleasure.
There he is, the scout here on pucksports.com. Big thanks again, and I hope everybody enjoyed our MLB opening day show. Big thanks to Ryan Divish, Jim Duquette, Also, Brad, Adam, and of course our new segment, The Scout. I mean, listen, we're excited about opening day, which is again hours away. But the last tidbit there from The Scout when he's talking about Lazaro Montez, and he just called him a monster and said, I've never seen a ball hit harder than a ball that I saw him hit up in Everett, and say he's one of the best hitters that he's ever seen. So, again, you're excited about the start of the season tonight, but listening to him talk about the young players that are on that team, and especially Montez, that gets you real excited. All right, we have gone long today because I knew we would go long today because it's our baseball opening day show. Of course, there is no baseball opening day show without our montage that we will play at the end of the show as we will lead us out here. Of course, something I put together years and years ago back on the radio with James Earl Jones, Field of Dreams. Yes, I watched it again last night because I just can't stop watching it. It gets better every time. And, of course, our Mariner highlights that are in it. It makes the hair stick up on your arm. And if it doesn't, then I don't know if you got a heartbeat. But again, as we wrap this up today, I guess we'll use this Hey, What the Puck, which, of course, is always brought to you by Restoration One, our good friends there at Restoration One. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages do affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, North Seattle franchise. All right, so that gets us to, again, I'll make this one a quicker thank you. Not only opening days, we started off the show, but celebrating 1 year. Today is when Puck Sports officially debuted with our baseball show. We debuted it on opening day after leaving radio for, over 23 years. And was one of the biggest life decisions I ever made. And it was the best decision I ever made personally and, most importantly, professionally. But I just want to thank again everyone that has been along for the ride. So thank you to all of our sponsors, Limbeck Lumber, A Clean Streak, John Howie Steak, Flat Stick Pub, Andy Largent and the crew, Chalet Bowl, thank you so much, Reggie, Superior Linen Service, Hartley and Hartley Insurance, Zogs on Fox Island, the Cougar Collective, shout out to Luke and the company, Zeke's Pizza, thanks, Dan, Fat Zach's Pizza that brings you Chris Egan every week. Georgetown Brewery. You can check out their new tavern beer at your local bar. And, of course, at georgetownbeer.com. And, of course, because it's Hey, What the Puck, big thanks to Trent and everyone that works over at restoration1.com. Also, big thanks to, and I mentioned this before, the people that have been influenced me in my life to make a decision like this. John Canzano, thank you, John, for all your knowledge and support and guidance. Same for Kevin Shockey. Big thank you to Kevin Shockey for his guidance, his support in the sounding board. To the Magnolia Belly, who is our accountant, setting up the Pucks, our 2040 Media LLC, setting up a media company when I have no idea what I'm doing from that angle. And there's a lot of stuff you got to do. Not just, hey, let's just start something. Big thanks to Magnolia Belly for doing that. Jim Moore. I don't think I thanked Jim in the beginning. Thanks to the go-to guy. I mean, listen, if Jim didn't get fired, I'd still be on radio. So, thanks, Jim. No. That's a good shot, though. Come on. No, but big thanks to Jim. He's been along for this ride for the last, 5-6 months or so. And love Jim to death. He will continue to be, of course, a part of this show moving forward. Enjoy our chats every week, 3 times a week with him, and he's just the best. He is what he is. What he is on this, he is in real life. So big thanks to Jim. Huge thanks to my wife and my family. My wife and family. Without their support, this decision would have not been able to happen. She gave me who runs this household. She gave us a year. Said, let's see if it works out for a year. It has worked out for a year, and it has been great. Thank you. Last but not least, though, to you, the audience, big thank you. We mentioned the sponsors. I mentioned the guests. I didn't mention the guests, but to Ryan Divish, to Jim Duquette, to Mike Garofolo. Mike, I owe Mike a ton. To Chris Egan, Rob Staten. I know I'm going to miss somebody. Brad Adam. Bill Kruger, I hope Bill comes back and does some baseball, but I understand that, because of what has happened with the TV stuff, that he's kind of, a little hurt by that, so he's not doing anything, I think, this year, but hopefully we'll get him back at some point. But to Michael Shandugar, who is, kind of a new guest of ours, who started during the football season. I love having Mike on all the time. Danny Kelly from The Ringer. I mentioned Brad, I mentioned Jim. So all the regular guests that have come on throughout the past year. Thank you. Last but not least, the audience. Without you, none of this happens. If you don't come over from the radio, and again, you have choices to make. And by the way, you can always listen on the phone. Download the Puck Sports mobile app to your phone in your car. You can listen to the live show from your car or on your phone. But without you making the decision to come over and support and keep this going, we wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you. Thank you for the interaction. Thank you always for the feedback. Please don't hesitate to ever reach out. Puck at pucksports.com. Love all of you. Thank you so much always for checking in. All right, today's baseball show, you can find it everywhere. It's up on YouTube. When you're there on the YouTube page, please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment. Try to get to as many as I can. If you like to listen to it, it's up on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. You can, of course, always find everything up at pucksports.com. When you're there, you can become a member of the Pucks Posse. It's $5 a month. You get a discount if you sign up for a year. You support all the free content we do daily, plus, in addition, the VIP content like Ryan Divish's full podcast appearances every single week, Dane Brugler's NFL Draft Countdown Series, and our brand new segment, our brand new podcast that we introduced for you yesterday that will drop every Monday, The Sports Pit with my good friends, former KJR alums, Steve Sandmeyer, and the great Matt Stretch Johnson. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Love all the support. Happy opening day to everyone. This is one of the greatest days on the sports calendar because it's opening day. We've got NCAA basketball. It's the best. Thank you to all. Posse, thank you so much. YouTube family, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. And it's been all sunshine, right? And lollipops. And then tomorrow we get a bitch and moan about the baseball team. God, it's the best. All right. Without further ado, we will wrap it up. We do this every single year. I've watched it a million times. It is our baseball opening day special montage. Hopefully you enjoy it. Have fun tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow. As always, promise to be better.
For reasons they can't even fathom, they turn up your driveway, not knowing for sure why they're doing it. They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
25 years from now, you're going to want to say, I was there when Ken Griffey Jr. made his home debut. So don't forget that on Monday night. There's a drive into the gap in left center field and deep left center field, and Henderson's not going to get to it. It's off the base of the wall, and Griffey to second base in his first major league at bat, a ringing double off the 375 marker, and we have seen that all spring. Welcome to the show, Ken Griffey Jr.
Of course, we won't mind if you look around, you'll say. It's only $20 per person. They'll pass over the money without even thinking about it. For it is money they have, and peace they lack.
A man all alone with himself, but not all alone here, as 24,000 incredibly rabid Mariner fans are looking for that final strike. That will set Mariner history. Here comes the left-hander's wind. The 0-2 pitch on the way. Swing! It's over! He has done it! High fastball, Randy Johnson.
Walk out to the bleachers. Sit in shirt sleeves on a perfect afternoon. You'll find they have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines. Where they sat when they were children and cheered their heroes. And they'll watch the game. And it'll be as if they dipped themselves in magic waters. The memories will be so thick, they'll have to brush them away from their faces.
Terrence Long is lead over at first. Here comes the 3-2 pitch on the way. Swung on and a ground ball punched into right field for a base hit. So heading to third base is Long. The throw to third base, and they've got him nailed at third base on a tremendous throw by Ichiro. I'm here to tell you that
Ichiro threw something out of Star Wars down there at third base. He fired a shot about 3 feet off the ground all the way on the fly to David Bell, and Terrence Long was DOA. And now Sasaki is set. And now the right-hander is to the plate with the 0-2 to A-Rod. Swing! And a foul tip into the glove of Dan Wilson, who hangs on to it. And no baseball team in history has ever won more games than the Seattle Mariners.
One constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball. America has rolled by like an army of steamrollers. It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
2-1 pitch to Junior. Swung on line to the right field for a base hit. Around third, here comes Bradley. Junior has won the ball game.
Now the left-hander ready. Branding iron hot. The 1-2 pitch. K inserted. It's over right over the heart of the plate. Randy looks to the skies. That is covered by the dome.
Baseball has marked the time. This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again. Oh, people will come, Ray. People will most definitely come.
They would love a base hit into the gap, and they could win it with Junior's speed in the stretch. And the 0-1 pitch on the way to Edgar Martinez. Swung on and lined down the left field line for a base hit. Here comes Joy. Here is Junior to third base. They're going to wave him in. The throw to the plate will be late. The Mariners are going to play for the American League Championship. I don't believe it. It just continues. My, oh my. Edgar Martinez with a double. Ripped down the left field line, and they are going crazy at the Kingdom.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!